Hi everyone, Teddy Baldassarre with TeddyBaldassarre.com. In this video, we're looking at a watch from Hamilton with the Hamilton Khaki Field King Auto. So in this video and on this channel, we cover watches available for purchase on our website, TeddyBaldassarre.com, as a full authorized dealer of all the brands that we carry. So in this video, we're gonna do a deep dive of this timepiece, final points of consideration at the end, but also throughout this video, if you have further questions, check out the link in the description to the product page where you can learn more, purchase the watch, and book a time with one of our dedicated watch specialists as well. But guys, let's jump into the video, take a closer look at this watch. Hamilton's Khaki collection is one of the best places to find excellent Swiss-made watches at reasonable prices and just terrific value for money. It's a line that we spent quite a bit of time in digging into over the past few years, especially the Hamilton Khaki Field models, which have become some of the most popular models on our site. But today we're going to look at the Khaki Field King Automatic, a military field watch with a slightly sportier case, as well as a day-date display and priced around $600. So let's take a closer look. Now, as we look into the Khaki King here, one of the first distinguishing points is going to be the case. Many of the Khaki Field watches are going to be in a 38mm case. There are, of course, plenty of different options, but this one's going to really split the difference, coming in at 40mm. This is going to offer a larger presence on the wrist without overstepping too much. The diameter here is 40mm, case height of 11.5mm, really in the typical fashion of many of the other Khaki Field watches, and a relatively long lug-to-lug distance of 49.5mm. As the name suggests here, this piece is a field watch and has sizable steel case elements, including the crown, the lugs, and the crown guards. Because of the lug-to-lug length and these enlarged case features, this piece is going to wear slightly larger than the measurement suggests for that diameter, more like a 41 to 41.5mm. On the wrist, the long downward angled lugs along with the thick padded strap keep the watch firmly planted in the center of the wrist. But in terms of just generally having this one on, you do see a nice kind of jump up in the size compared to the Khaki Field Automatics or the Khaki Field Mechanical, coming in at 38mm. A large push-pull crown is positioned at the 3 o'clock and recessed between bolstered crown guards. The crown features large, easy-to-grip grooves to aid with winding and manipulating the functions, and is also featuring an embossed Hamilton H logo. To operate the crown, it is straightforward. Hand winding is done in the first position between the crown guards. To adjust the day-date functions, extend the crown into the second position and turn it opposite directions to advance each individually. Finally, to set the time, pull out the crown to the furthest position, and you'll be able to stop the second hand in the process, so hacking seconds here. Push the crown back in when you're done setting the time to maximize the Khaki King's water-resistant capabilities of 50 meters. Now, this is an interesting point as well, as you're looking in the direction of this watch, comparing this to the Khaki Field Automatic that comes in with 100 meters of water resistance. This one only comes in with 50, so that could be another point of consideration for those that are really trying to push the sporty undertones of a watch like this. In terms of case finishing, Hamilton goes with the familiar and more upscale look of a brushed case with a polished bezel and the crown as seen on the other Khaki Field Automatic models. The case features crisp lines for the price range that it's going to be occupying, and finishing has been applied with care on all visible surfaces. Between the 20mm lugs, we have a heavily padded genuine leather strap sporting a reddish brown color, almost in a burgundy type effect, with ecru contrasting stitch. It tapers down to 18mm at a brushed squared pin buckle that is also going to be signed with the Hamilton logo. As far as the strap goes, it's nicer than what you will typically find at the price range. Given how versatile the Khaki King is and all the other models within the Khaki Field collection, getting a different option or just some different options for straps is certainly something that I would recommend. With 20mm for the lug width, you're going to have plenty of optionality here, and just keep in mind that 18mm taper down to the buckle if you did want to keep it or swap it in on future third-party options. Transitioning back over to the front of the watch, there is a dome sapphire crystal providing a pretty clear view of the multi-textured black dial within, and overall, it's a modern take on a classic dial configuration for a military field watch. Diving into the elements along the dial's perimeter is a minute track with small lume plots at every 5 minutes, all applied to a matte texture along the outside surface. Sliding inside, we have the larger luminous Arabic numerals marking off the hours on a slightly different dial scale. This dial sector has a circular texture applied to it, and light reflects off this area a bit differently than it does with the other areas of the dial. It's also within this sector that we find the day-date aperture at the 12 o'clock position, with the full day window sitting above the date. The center of the dial is stepped slightly higher than the outside perimeter that contains the hour markers, and you also get a sunburst texture, a look that's just a bit more refined than the traditional matte finish. It's in this section that you get the smaller 24-hour track, as well as the Hamilton logo printed in the top half of the dial and reference text above the 6 o'clock marker. A pair of fully loomed syringe-style hands and an arrow second hand bring the dial together at the center. Overall, loom is adequate. It's not going to be the best in the category, but this is something that's kind of to be expected with some of these field watches in this price range, but will certainly do the job. But one other point when it comes to just legibility here. Now, the contrast is great with the dial markers and the dial and how that works with great cohesion, but when you get into the world of the reflections off the sapphire crystal with that black dial, it can create some visually difficult situations when reading at specific angles. And I think this is just one of those points where, just having a sapphire crystal, although there are plenty of inherent benefits with the scratch resistance that comes with one of these type of crystals, there are still some minor downsides when it comes to just visibility and not having that kind of warm vintage hue that some other crystal types can have. But overall, this is a very familiar type of dial execution if you have ever seen a Khaki field in action. Now, turning this watch over, we find a screw-down exhibition case back through which we can see the automatic H40 movement. This movement is based on the ETA 2834-2 with some heavy modifications in the process, including slowing the beat rate down from 28,800 vibrations per hour or 4 Hertz to a slower 21,600 vibrations per hour to extend out the power reserve beyond 3 full days to 80 hours. Further modifications are made to the gear train and the barrel to assist in this effort to extend the power reserve. There's also an important modification made to the balance assembly where the traditional regulator pin setup is swapped out for a different balance assembly to improve accuracy by enhancing the movement's ability to resist shock, among other chronometric advantages. This particular modification does make regulating yourself a bit more difficult, but I have found with testing hundreds of these Hamilton watches that they are going to run with pretty good specification out of the box. As far as visual aesthetics go, the movement is pretty sports utilitarian with a matte finish across the visible surfaces. While the movement generally lacks any high-end finishes, polished screws and some polished brass gear train elements do provide some visual contrast against the matte bridges and plates. The most visually appealing element to the movement is the semi-skeletonized Hamilton sign rotor, which winds up the movement as it spins. While generally these rudimentary movement finishes leave a lot to be desired visually, it does work well in this field watch package with its simplicity and rugged reliability. In terms of general operation of this movement, we're looking at 21,600 vibrations per hour, 3 Hertz. Does feature hacking and hand winding. Again, hacking stop in the second hand when you pull the crown to the farthest position. It has a power reserve of 80 hours. So now to unpack looking at this watch and where it stacks up against the competition. The truth is, when looking at the competition here, most of it is going to be coming from the brand that is going to be on the dial with this watch as well. Hamilton offers some of the best field watches, if not the best field watches for the money out there on the market. And as you get into this $500 range, I think they're definitively the best option you can go for a watch of the type. But as you're looking at the different options from the brand, the King Auto does fit in a strange spot. It's a little bit larger with its case size. It has a day-date complication at the 12 o'clock, which might turn some people away. And then you also have 50 meters of water resistance. Now, these are not necessarily deal breakers. I think these are more just pursuits towards a different type of execution on this design DNA. Maybe for somebody that wants something different than the Khaki Field Mechanical or the Khaki Field Automatic. But I think with this combination of the complication, the case size being a bit larger, as well as the water resistance not being as high as the Khaki Field Automatic at 100 meters with that watch, this one's going to be in a position where it's probably not going to outshine as being that definitive choice from Hamilton in this $500-600 range for a field watch. But still a welcome different alternative that if you are a little bit fatigued with the traditional variations of the Khaki Field collection, this could be a nice alternative towards the entry door of price from this model family. All right, guys, well, thank you again so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. That really does help out the channel, so really would appreciate that. But also, if you're in the market for this watch, check it out. Link in the description. It's available on teddybaldassarre.com. We're a full authorized dealer of all the brands that we carry, quick and fast fulfillment, dedicated customer support. Also are going to offer a full factory warranty for all of our products. So if something goes wrong, you're going to be covered. And also, this is how we fund all of our future content on this channel, as well as on our main channel, helping to foster up a new generation of watch enthusiasts in the process. But guys, thank you again so much for watching. Be well, and I will see you all very soon.